Real talk. I want to help more people like you show up online with confidence, starting with your LinkedIn profile. If your profile still reads like a job history instead of a reflection of who you are now, we need to fix that. I offer a LinkedIn makeover service where I rewrite your headline, your about section, and your experience to tell your story in a way that gets noticed, that showcases your expertise. It's personal, it's real, and it's all about helping you stand out for the right reasons. Book your makeover at sandy-adams.com/LinkedIn, and let's get your profile working for you.
You know who he is because he's one of the best to
Yes,
ever do it.
I watched him
Uh,
growing up playing football. Loved him.
right. And I think you kind of have this in all moment.
Today on the sideline, I'm talking with the new director of development for the University of Colorado. Duvante Lane is up next. Welcome back to the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Sandy Adams, and this is where we dive deep into the world of sports, talking with retired athletes, current athletes, and everyone that helps make the sports world great. Now grab your iced tea or your coffee, get ready to be motivated and inspired because this is where the real stories are told. Today's guest on the sideline shows how real impact happens behind the scenes in college sports. Duvante Lane started at Butler University for his undergrad, earned his master's at the University of Indianapolis, and found his passion supporting student athletes beyond the game. Now, as the new director of development at the University of Colorado, he leads a fundraising that creates scholarships, facilities, and opportunities for athletes to thrive. Today, we dive into his career path, the world of athletics development, and how NIL is changing the game behind the scenes. I couldn't be more excited to welcome to the show Duvante Lane.
Thank you, Sandy. And I appreciate the warm welcome. I couldn't be more excited and honored to sit down with you and catch up and yeah, just talk about this crazy world of sports that we all live in now, right?
Exactly. For those out there, it's going to be a little, I'm not sure. Devante is very calm and serene right
Yeah.
now. I am very wired and hyper, which is my usual self. So it should be very fun. I always love to start how I know the people. Okay. So
Yeah.
for those out there, I knew you a little bit before New Year's Eve of 2023.
Yeah.
Okay, and I knew who you were. Okay, you were. I'm sorry for everybody out there. He was at the University of he was at the University of Memphis. I'm really
Yeah.
wild
Yeah.
today.
No, yeah.
I've had 2 cups of coffee too. But New Year's Eve 2023, or was it 2022?
Ooh,
2023.
they
I can't remember.
blend.
Maybe it was 22.
It would have been 22.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, it'd been
So
22.
my friend Donna Humphreys, give a shout out to Donna. My
Very
friend
special one.
Sonia
Very,
Payne,
very
let's give a
special one.
I know, let's give a shout out to Sonia. We decided last moment Memphis was playing a basketball game at Tulane on New Year's Day in New Orleans. And we decided last moment, let's just go to New Orleans for New Year's Eve. And
Hmm.
we all took separate planes. I left New Year's Eve that morning or that afternoon, flew into New Orleans, got to see the sunset over Lake Pontchartrain. Okay. We hung out in the bar at the hotel for New Year's Eve. And we have the best picture. Donna still talks about it. It's the best picture. Joy Dorsey was there. For those that don't know him, you better go look him up. Um, we just had the best time that evening at the bar for New Year's Eve, just celebrating it. A bunch of us there, and we just kind of bonded.
Hmm.
We just kind of bonded, and Donna still shows that picture quite a lot. Uh,
Well, I'm honored that she does.
she
Uh,
does. She thinks the world of you. So you became the new director. So after you left Memphis, I'll get into that for just really
yep.
quickly. After you left Memphis, you went to Louisville, University
Hmm.
of Louisville, and I've also interviewed a former swimmer for the university. Then I saw back in
Yeah, April.
April that you took the position at
Hmm.
Colorado. And I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am for you. And I think I sent you a message and I was like, I hope you got excited. You could tell how excited I was because that's
Yeah.
just a fantastic opportunity
Hmm.
for everything that's going on in Colorado, and it's just fantastic. So let's rewind a bit though, because I get a bit ahead of myself. Where
Okay.
did you grow up?
I grew up in Evansville, Indiana, home of the Purple Aces. For those that don't know, about as south and as west as you can get in the state of Indiana. So right on the Kentucky border. No, I'm not from Kentucky. I'm from Indiana. I heard that a lot growing up, but
That's right. That's right.
yeah, it was a great place to grow up. So small enough but big enough that I got some life experiences and
Sure.
yeah,
Sure. Did you play sports as a kid?
I did. I organized sports. It was probably mostly football, basketball,
Right.
but in reality, right, anything that you could do outside, riding bikes, technically, any of that stuff, right? I was doing it.
Right.
I was outside running around, wrestling, whatever it was. But so yeah, it was really basketball, football. I got into track in middle school and then got into wrestling in high school. So those were kind of my staples, with football being really my staple.
Sure. Sure. Did you think about playing sports in college? Or
I
did you?
did.
You did.
Yeah, so I had the opportunity to play at Butler. So um
Play football?
yep, played football
Okay.
there, was
Okay.
running back there from 2013 to 17.
Okay, I feel
Um
bad. I should have done it as a regular episode and not on the sideline. But
no,
it's all
it's
good. We can
well, we can talk about both.
yeah.
I mean that experience was it was fun, you know. I think you dream about it growing up as like what can I do? And you know, you think you're going to be this place, you think you're going to be that place, but ultimately, I think for me, I ended up right where I needed to be, and Butler was great. So,
You know, I've heard that from a lot of athletes. They've talked about how, maybe the initial one that they wanted to go to or went to like a first couple of years just wasn't the fit for them. And,
mhm.
then they end up going someplace else and they're like, it was the best decision for me. What was that experience like though, going from high school football to college football?
Yeah, I think it's hard, right? I think in high school, a lot of people that you played with, you probably crossed paths with growing up in Little League
Sure.
football here, there, right? So there was a lot of overlap. You go to college and I didn't know anybody on the team, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you show
Right.
up and you meet these guys and you're trying to gauge, okay, like where am I at? How good are these guys? How good am I? Right? You go from the big fish in the little pond to the small fish in the big pond again.
Sure.
But through all that, right, you bond with them, you create relationships, and there'll be guys on that team that'll I'll continue to talk to till the day I die, right? Uh,
Right.
so I think that part of it is really, really special. But the transition is it's intense, right? Because you're also living on your own. You don't have mom there, you don't have dad there to drop you off at practice
Exactly.
on time to have your food ready for you when it's done. So you see some people really struggle with that.
Yeah. And several people on the show have talked about how just that they get to college and suddenly they have to create their own structure,
Hmm.
and it's kind of difficult. Is Butler a D1 D2?
Division One Double A
Okay.
for football. So
Right.
FCS, I guess
Okay.
Double A doesn't exist anymore, but FCS for football, and then obviously basketball, Big East,
Right.
and Big East across the board for every other sport. Pioneer League for football, if anybody's familiar.
I am. Where is Butler located?
Indianapolis.
Okay.
Hmm.
Obviously, y'all can tell I didn't necessarily. I'm just ad libbing now. I didn't do my research on on everything
No,
else.
that's fine. I think so in reality, right? And I don't get offended by this. Most people don't even realize that Butler has a football program because basketball just overshadows so much there.
Exactly.
And it's a
Exactly.
tiny school, right? I think when I was there, we were probably 4 or 5 thousand students. I haven't kept up with it now, but I know there's a big initiative while I was there to push to get to up to like 7 to 10 thousand students. Don't know
Right.
where they are now, but so it's relatively small, right? There's high schools in Indianapolis that are bigger than the student
That's
population at Butler.
that's crazy. What was that recruiting process like though through high school for you?
Oh, um, you know, it was a lot different for me, right? I wasn't a super high level recruit, just being frank,
Right.
right? So I think for me, I talked to everybody from your FCS programs down
Mm-hmm.
to Division 3. So it was hard trying to navigate that and figure out what was going to be the best fit from a playing opportunity, right? And then
Right.
when you're at that level, education becomes more important too, right? So who's
It
going to
should
provide
be,
me the best
yes.
opportunity there,
Yes.
so that I was going to graduate and go on to be able to be successful in life. So it was difficult, and I think at those levels you see a lot of turnover with coaches, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that those programs are stepping stones, but people aspire to do more, right? So
Sure.
a lot of times there was coaches that I got recruited by that left in the middle of the process.
Yeah.
Then you try to pick up the pieces and say, okay, well, I'm talking to X school. Who do I talk to now?
Right.
And sometimes it was nobody. So some people fell off the radar for you, right? But Butler was consistent throughout that process. And I think part of it was really my mom pushing me, right? Because I thought about not playing. I thought about just going to school and getting through
Right.
that. But she really pushed me and she was like, this isn't what um, I envisioned your college experience being. I always saw you playing football,
Oh,
enjoying it. Yeah, and I think so. A
because
lot.
I have to say, I'm not sure a lot of moms would feel that way when it comes to football. I could be crazy, but for her to push you, not push
Yeah,
you, but want you to have that experience that
yeah,
at the next level says a lot. Shout out to your mom.
yeah. No, it's I got more than I could ever thank her for. But that being a big, big piece, right? Because I think that people don't realize, but college is just a massive experience in your life and shapes who you are and who you're going to be
Sure.
moving forward. So yeah, all the thanks to her for that amongst many other things.
I totally agree with you because my mom, she gave me such a great experience too, and pushed me that, I need to finish college because I was going to take off
Mhm.
that the last semester because we didn't and work. But the thing is, so many of my friends, I formed the friendships formed in college.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's crazy. Um, what so going into your college experience, what did you see your life was going to be like after graduation?
Yeah, that's a great question. I went into college thinking that, so I had really good relationships in high school with my athletic directors, athletic trainers. Some of those people probably too good of a relationship with my athletic trainer, meaning that I was getting hurt or doing all those things. But I thought that I would get into the medical space of athletics, right? Whether that was going to be trying to become an actual medical doctor, physical therapist, physician, whatever, right? I thought that that
Right,
was the
right.
space that I was going to be in because I felt like what I could give back to sports was my time and my effort, making sure that people were able to compete. Um, then I realized, maybe that's not it for me.
Right.
And over time, I realized that education was foundational to who I was as a person. I think it drove a lot of things for me in life, right?
Hmm.
So I started to look at aspects of that. Ended up kind of diving into getting my degree in education. Thought
I
that I
saw
would
that.
go become a high school, maybe coach, administrator, athletic
Right.
director, and have an impact there. And um, just through connections and having really good people in my corner, one thing led to another, and I ended up in this space, and
I know, right?
it's made sense ever since. So,
So did you but during the college experience, did you have any aspirations for trying to play pro?
um, not really.
Yeah,
To be honest, I kind of knew that college was probably the end for me, and I was okay with that.
right,
I talked to some different people, right? Different leagues, CFL, some European football leagues,
right.
some stuff like that. But I think as I got closer to the end of my time in college, my body was telling me no as well,
Yeah,
right? My body started to feel beat up, and as I kind of looked at what a career looked like in college athletics, higher education,
yeah,
I realized that I felt like I'd only be putting myself behind by kind of
yeah,
pursuing that. Not to say that it would have been a waste of time, right? I think if you get to go live in Europe or any of those other countries and experience that, and somebody's going to pay for it, right? Like I would
right.
encourage people to go do it. But I think for me, um, I was just ready to dive in and dive in
Sure.
and get my feet
Sure.
wet, right?
Right. And I think some people feel that way. You talk about the impact on your body. And
Hmm.
football is such a contact sport, obviously,
Hmm.
that there's just so much on you. So what was your first job out of college?
I was a marketing assistant at the University of Butler, so it was a marketing internship. I was helping run our day-to-day from a game day standpoint. So things like the big shoe race that you see during games,
Right.
different stuff that's on the video board. I was doing a lot of that. I was coordinating right when our band is playing, when music was playing, some of those different things, right? And my degree is in education. I had no background in that, but again, was lucky to have people around me that were willing to pour into me and kind of show me
Right.
what that opportunity looked like. Spent a lot of time out at baseball and softball, playing walk-up music, coordinating what our PA was going to read, those things. So you kind of got to bond with and grow an appreciation for some of those things.
Well, sure. And then you look at, I always tell young people, like right out of college or even before that, take every opportunity, even if you don't think the job or the task is exciting,
Yeah.
it gives you so much experience from so
Hmm.
many different vantage points.
Yeah, and I think that's spot on, right? Whenever you're 22, 21,
Yeah,
23, like hopefully you don't have a lot of real life
sure.
responsibilities yet, right? So spend that time exploring while
Right.
you can, because at some point um life's going to take off, right? Whether it's
Mhm.
a
Does.
family, whether it's wanting to own all these different things, right? That you don't have to want, but like a lot of people do want, right, are going
Right.
to start to kick in, and um, your time's just going to be such a commodity at that point that you can't explore anymore. You need to kind of
No.
know what direction you're going in.
Sure. And look now at how much just those activities that you did have added to how you do your job at
Yeah,
Colorado.
yeah,
Just the understanding and everything of that.
yeah. It
Um,
gives perspective.
yes, exactly. So let's talk about, because I do want to talk about the job process,
Hmm.
because as much as this podcast show is about pivots and transitions and athletic careers, it is about how to get to that next step, whatever.
Yeah,
And you were at the University of Louisville and you took that job from Memphis. I was sad when you left. We all were, right? But you wanted to be closer to home and it seemed the
yeah,
perfect thing. So then, I mean, who could pass up a chance to go to the University of Colorado? I mean, who
yeah,
could pass that up?
yeah.
But um, how did that job process? So you were doing work at Butler University,
Hmm.
and what did you see as the trajectory of your career then? Like, what was that next step for you?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, jumping back to the transition from Memphis to Louisville, I got a lot of heat for that.
You did.
But I'm really excited to see that basketball rivalry is starting back up.
Yes,
So I think that's going to be great for fans on both sides.
I agree. I agree.
And I
I,
got to
I
figure
I'm
out,
from the days when Louisville was a big,
yeah, yeah.
rival.
So I've got to figure out if I can coordinate my schedule to make it back in the winter
Oh my God, we
when they
would love to
play.
have you.
So yeah. But yeah, I think looking at career trajectory, it's hard, right, when you jump in because you don't
Yeah,
know. But I think it was a lot of just, and this is probably a little bit of my personality. It was a lot of sitting back and listening and digging in and researching, like,
sure.
what are people's career paths, right? What did, as I was sitting at Butler, looking at the people around me, okay, like, let me dig into their bio. Let me figure out what was their path. How did they get to where they are, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I think a lot of it was that. Now, um, did I know how fast or how quick or no, I don't think I ever thought about it that way. I think for me, as I got into it, the ultimate goal was, okay, I want to become an athletic director. How do I get there? Who do I
So
need to,
that was your thought process early
yeah,
on,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got in, and I'd say that still stands true
right?
to a degree.
Right.
I like to be a realist. I like to understand that I'm still early on in my career and
Sure.
life's going to happen along the way, and that may change. But I think, I still need to be doing the things that are going to give me the opportunity
Sure.
to get there if I decide to, right? I
Right.
think that's what it has become more about for me is what am I doing to give myself the opportunity to take the next step, right?
I love that. Yes.
And it doesn't mean that you always have to, but I always want to put myself in the position to have the opportunity to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's been a big piece of evolvement in my career for me.
Right.
It was early on, it was right. I just got to get paid, man. Like making
I hear ya.
12,000, $16,000 is not fun. Like I just got to get a job. I just need
I
somebody
just
to
want
give
to
me an
eat.
opportunity. Yeah, right. So,
No, I agree with you. And, I talk to people all the time in coaching them and, they don't want to take a job interview because they don't want to take the job. I'm like,
mhm,
wait a minute. You don't even know if you're going to get offered the job.
right.
Let's go through the interview process
Yeah.
first. And it is something, but I think that that's great. And development is such a big part of the athletic director position, just
Yeah.
athletics in general. I don't
Yeah.
think people necessarily realize that. So let's talk about the Colorado job. How did you hear about that?
Yeah. So it's crazy. You have all these different things, D1 ticker, college job, like all these different
Right,
organizations that right, they send you their daily newsletters, emails, etc. And some days I look at them, some days I don't, right?
right.
And I just happened to scroll onto it this one day and I looked at it and I was like, read the job description. I'm like, that sounds really interesting to me, right? Like I had not been thinking about leaving Louisville. I hadn't been thinking about Colorado
Right.
at all, right? Other than right, I stayed up and watched their games until 3 a.m. every day. But
So I want to intercept. So your position at Louisville, what was it?
associate director of development,
Okay. And at Memphis, it was what?
director of leadership giving, same
Right.
concept,
Same
right?
thing. Yeah.
Director of
Okay.
development,
Okay.
whatever you
Okay.
just
Okay.
sometimes the titles are
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
yeah. Um, so I came across it, right? And I actually, luckily enough, through professional development conference that happens every summer, I had met some of the people in this department. Also had a friend that I worked with when I was at the University of Tennessee early on. So I just shot him a text like with the position, and I think I put like the side eye emoji or whatever, kind of
right.
joke, right?
Right. Right. Right.
Like kind of what if, right?
Right.
And that kind of sparked into real conversation about the role. And the next thing you know, right, through different connections, right, you're asking about some of the people that work here, you're getting connected with them, and you're just
Right.
kind of learning. And I'm like, okay, like this is actually a role that sounds very intriguing to me. As I dove more and more into it, the next thing you know, you're actually in the interview process, you're flying out. And if you've ever been to Boulder, Colorado, like there's not many places you're going to visit that are more beautiful than Boulder, Colorado.
Exactly.
And right, I was sold, right? All the things that I got the kind of feeling about early on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, this is the team dynamic. These are the things that are important to them, right? Some of those
Right.
things that aligned with kind of what was important to me in this industry, they were all kind of true. And I'm like, how could you not, right?
Right.
So, yeah, and I was lucky. Some people, Blair DeBoard, who you obviously know as well, from
Right.
his time at Memphis,
Right.
he had some connections to Leon Jackson III, who's our head development officer here. So he was able to kind of help me
Right.
make some of those
Right.
connections
Right.
beyond just the surface level connection that you have, right?
Right.
So just really appreciative for the people that I've been able to cross paths with along my way, and that they've still poured into me in different ways like that. So yeah.
I always try to emphasize the importance of networking and just
Hmm.
the importance of, you talked about that earlier, people's stories, how they got that is like I'm fascinated by how people get from one point in their life to the point I'm meeting. It just fascinates me because I mean, yeah, it's easy to sit here and look back and see. I call it building or placing bricks, building bricks.
Yeah.
It's easy to see that, and what I try to just reiterate time and time again is don't try to quantify the relationship with someone. Just take it for what it is. You
Hmm.
never know what may come of that. It could come from nothing, you know? Who would have thought a New Year's Eve at a bar in New Orleans and we'd be sitting here and you're the director of Colorado. I mean, the director of development for Colorado.
Yeah.
I mean, who would have thought that, right?
Yeah, and I think it's just really, and I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It's about not looking at what you can get out of a networking. It's like
Exactly.
building genuine
Exactly.
relationships with people. There are people that I've talked to in this industry that I'm probably not going to talk to again, and that's okay.
Right.
But right, I was genuine in my connection with them, and if a time arises, I feel comfortable reaching out and saying, "Hey, I know we don't talk often, but here's this," right?
Exactly.
And I think some of that is that you don't have to always get something from a conversation. Like
No.
some of it's just connecting with people, learning about them, and maybe you go your separate ways and you never cross paths again, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think whenever you're trying to get some kind of relationship, people can see it, they can sense it, they can feel it,
Sure
right?
they can. Sure they can.
Um,
And everybody doesn't have to be your best friend. You know, you don't
no,
even have to see them, you know, just,
no,
you know, there's some people that I just had conversations with on Twitter before I moved back to Memphis that
yeah,
now when I see them out, you know, I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" You know?
right.
Um yeah, people fascinate me. Okay, so I have to ask this. At any point were you intimidated by the job at Colorado before you got hired?
No, I think
Because and I asked that question because not that everything revolves around Deion Sanders, right?
yeah,
But he has brought a exponential amount of attention onto the school and the athletics program.
yeah. Oh,
So
100%.
at any point were you kind of intimidated by, you know, the exposure and all of that?
No, I think it more excitement than intimidation, right? I think
Hmm.
for me, I looked at it as this is an opportunity to put myself in a place that is going to make me grow. Whether I want to or not, which I do want to,
Right.
but whether I want to or not, the standard is the standard.
Sure.
Not only set by what Coach Prime is bringing to the table, but also by what our team sets every day in the Buff Club, right? Like this is
Sure.
the standard of what we're going to do, and um, you're going to fall in line or it's just not going to work. So I think putting yourself into those type of environments where you know it's going to push you to grow, that's something that's exciting
Hmm.
for me. And that's what I saw the opportunity at Colorado to be, right?
Right.
So yeah, and now I do think it can be daunting, right? Um, because there is pressure to perform. But
Sure.
I think the important part is if you know you have the support there that's going to help you perform, then there's nothing to be worried about.
And also, you're not necessarily out on the football field trying to make a touchdown either.
No, no, a lot less eyes on me, a lot less eyes on me day to day. So I get to be behind the scenes, and that's a lot better today. So
Okay, so I have to ask, I know this is a girl question. I'm sorry, I have to ask. When you first met him, is he larger than life when you're meeting him one on one?
I think, yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of those situations, and I don't know. It's hard to say, right? If you've ever been in this situation, you see so much about somebody,
Yes.
right, through social media, through whatever. And if you're a fan of sports, you know who he is because he's one of the best to
Yes.
ever do it.
I watched him
Uh,
growing up playing football. Loved him.
right. And I think you kind of have this in all moment.
Sure.
Um, but he is who he is, right? So,
Mhm.
and I say that in a good way. He's
He is who he
an
is.
authentic, right? Like,
Right.
and I think very warming presence, maybe in that sense. So I think you kind of snap in and you realize, okay, like he's not just another guy, but he's one of us, right? He's
Right.
above, right? He's
Right.
this, he's that. He cares about these things. So I think, yes, you have those in all moments because I mean,
He is
he's
who
who
he
he is. He's one of the
is.
best to ever do it, right? But
Yeah.
um, at the end of the day, he's still a person, and
Sure.
we all wake up and we get dressed the same and do those things. It's work, right? So
You know, it's interesting because I kind of compare that to Coach Hardaway. For
yeah,
those that may not
100%.
know Penny Hardaway, um, obviously their personalities are obviously a little bit different.
Hmm.
Penny's very much more of an introvert.
Hmm.
Um, but you know, I think I had that same thing. You know, you're in awe of who he is, and then yeah, he puts on his pants the same way, I think he does, as
Yeah.
everybody else, you know. Um so I want to, for the Memphis people that are listening, what was your first experience meeting Coach Hardaway?
I'm trying to think
Cuz
of,
he can just look at you. Like when I first met him, Marvin, president of the Rebounders, he introduced me at a golf, like Coach Hardaway just like stared at me.
yeah, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I think thinking back, it's kind of the same thing, right? Like
Yeah,
you're in awe, but then like I can just remember after you meet them once, you realize that they are just normal.
sure,
They're not normal because, right, they are famous
sure.
people, but from a day-to-day interaction with them, right? I think I just remember him coming through the tunnel before every basketball game, and
Yeah,
right, he's dapping you up and he's saying what's, and like those are the things where you just realize like he he's still just normal. Like he just wants to be treated normal. Like he
sure,
doesn't want
sure,
people to always run up and want to take a picture, right? He just wants to have genuine conversations as well,
sure.
right? Going back to
Mm-hmm.
that and then genuine interactions, right? So um I think it was some of those moments or even traveling with the team where you realize, right, like he's just as normal as everyone else. He's going to joke around the same as everybody else, even though he's introverted.
Right.
Um, but right there, solitude sometimes is important as well because they don't always get that.
No, and that's the one thing that I have seen firsthand. Um, the more famous a person is, the less solitude they get, and everybody
Hmm.
always wants a piece of them, right?
Hmm.
Um, okay, let's transition. What's it like living in Colorado? I've been through there. I've traveled through Colorado, but what's it like to live there? You haven't had a winter yet, have you?
No, I haven't, but it's speaking on the summer, it's phenomenal, right?
Mm,
The climate's different than I expected. It's a drier climate out here
yeah,
than
it
you would
is.
think. So, when it's 96 degrees, if you're in the shade, like you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're just taking a short walk down the road, right? Like you're fine. And I think that's been enjoyable. Very, very active community just in general. I'd say the entire
Right.
state. So that's fun, right? It's a lot of hiking, biking, all
Yeah,
the different things, right? There, so you're kind of motivated to stay active. Fitness is really, really big out here. And I think that's been refreshing for me. Kind of re-sparked that for me. And then I mean, just the opportunity, like the views you get are just
they are.
every day driving into work, I get to see the view of the Flatirons, and I think you try not to take those things for granted, right? Because growing up in
Yes.
Indiana, it's a lot of flat land,
Yeah, it is.
and you're seeing cornfields and buildings, and so I can appreciate those things daily.
um, let's talk about the word development. So
Yeah.
most people think development means fundraising, but
Hmm.
what does it really mean in terms of your job now?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is just it's really finding ways to drive revenue to the university, right?
Right.
Some of that is through philanthropic things, some of that may be more transactional, but it's also sharing the message and vision of where we want to go as a department, right?
Right.
And I think that piece can be even more important sometimes, right? How can we spread the message and create opportunities to make an impact? Because I think you're right, you're making an impact on student athletes, but you're also making an impact
Mm.
on the people that are coming to games, the people that are giving
Sure.
money, right? Because this place is special to them for some reason. And I can tell you a lot of it isn't because of me. I've only been here for 3 or 4 months. So while I hope to continue to make this place special to people, and I carry that torch now in my role.
Right.
Um, I think a lot of development is that right? How can we continue to make sure that the University of Colorado is special um, as it was whenever you went to school in the 70s or
Mm.
or 50s or
Right.
whatever it was in 2025, and how can we continue to make a positive impact on student athletes every single day?
So, obviously you've been in this job just a few months, but do you have a typical day-to-day activity now, or is it just every day is different?
Yeah, I think right now it's a little bit slower in the summer.
Right.
Right. We don't have any sports competing yet. We're about to ramp up. Fall football is about to kick back in, but a lot of it right now is just learning what our processes are, And then finding different ways to try to build connections right now so that as we go into the fall, I have a strong standpoint, right? So
Hmm.
they can vary. A lot of it is right now still, like I said, building some internal relationships and working on building some of those external relationships. Try to stay steady, making um, touch points and calls every day, right? So that
Right.
people know who I am. They know I'm here. Uh,
Hmm.
but I understand that it's a busy time of year, so I expect that to ramp up even more in the fall. And then from there, right, it's you're traveling to away games,
Yeah.
you're traveling to different regions to engage people there. So it really gets a little bit more I don't know if chaotic's the right word, but it's probably the
I,
easiest word in
I
the
think I
fall
think it is.
and winter.
I look at, just from the Memphis perspective, the athletic directors, the associates, assistants, whatever, and the whole development team, right? You
Hmm.
guys are supposed to be like at every function, like every sporting event, and that's difficult.
Yeah.
I see. Tim Duncan is one of our new assistant ads, and
Hmm.
I just see how like some of them will tag team. One will go to like I saw them at a baseball game. One went to like the first four innings, and then they
Hmm.
left, and another one came in for the last few innings.
Yeah.
But it is tough. So what's how do you? I mean, how do you decide how your team? So how many people do report to you?
Report directly to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have anyone that reports
Oh,
directly
okay. Okay.
directly to me, and that's fine.
That's yeah.
We have 14 or 16. I'm blanking on it. Total people on our team though.
Okay.
So I get the luxury of I get to just I'm right in the middle and I get to just kind of have the freedom of focusing on building those relationships, bringing people into the organization.
Ah, yeah.
And I think that's a little bit of a luxury, right? Because
Sure it is.
my time can be spent focusing on the main thing,
Right.
which is that. So, but yeah, when it comes to balancing your time outside of right the day to day, because there
Mm-hmm.
is that, I think um, we do a pretty good job making sure that hey, if you don't have anybody or if you don't need to be at an event, right,
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to force you to. Uh,
Right.
right now, football, different story. All hands on
Sure.
deck, right? Everybody
Sure.
should have somebody that
Absolutely.
they're trying to go see and some of those things. But right, we have some different sports specific events that happen throughout the course of the year, and they
Right.
don't require all of us to be there because it's just not necessary, right? It wouldn't be valuable use of all of our time. And I think that comes from leadership,
Mm-hmm.
having really good leadership that recognizes that the roles that we're in are taxing and time consuming.
Sure they are.
But I have been places where it's, hey, no matter what, everybody's at everything, right?
Yeah.
And it was fine. But I think when you talk about work-life balance, I don't know if there's a such thing in athletics. It's a lifestyle, I think,
Sure it
that you
is.
adapt to. But giving some people some more time with their family or just away from it so that they don't develop burnout, I think is beneficial.
Mm-hmm. And also, you got you in your role, you're giving yourself to so many people
Yeah.
that and everybody else too is in the department that you have to figure out how you can fill yourself back up.
Hmm.
you know that's the one thing I've said is just there it's just such a vast amount of giving, and you've got to be able to fuel yourself back up.
Yeah.
um
And go ahead. I was going
no,
to say,
no, no.
you just have to figure out, right? What are those non-negotiables in
Sure.
your own personal life that you need, and um, how can you communicate those, whether it's with your employer or whoever that is, right? For me, I got to get up and work out every day, right? And so that means I get into the office a little bit later, probably than I typically would.
Right.
But that's okay, right? Because by doing that, it's going to help me be better while I am here.
Sure.
So,
Sure. Has there been like one specific moment from your whole career since college? Has there been one specific moment where you were like, this is what I'm called to do? All right, before we get into the next topic, I want to take a quick moment to tell you about something that can really help you level up your personal brand. I've created an exclusive new book called The Visionary Personal Brand Playbook. It's perfect for those of you who have big goals but aren't exactly sure how to make your brand stand out, or for that matter, where to even start. It's packed with actionable tips that you can start using right now, today. If you're interested, head over to my website at sandy-adams.com/playbook and grab your copy. Now back to the show.
Yeah, I think that's another really good question, right? I think throughout the course of the year, you experience a lot of different moments like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's a big win,
Right.
get to see a student that um, is the first of their family to walk across the stage, all
Which,
those different types
which,
of
by the
things.
way, you're first generation
I
college
am. So
graduate.
that, yeah, that is correct. And so that one is always um, pulls at my heart a little bit more, right? Because I
Mm,
know how much it can change your family dynamic moving forward. Um, but I think like the most impactful moment that I had early on in my career was actually not related to a student athlete. And I don't even know if this person was a donor, but it was a fan at the University of Tennessee. Um, Whenever I was interning there, we gave a lot of different tours, right? Whether it
right.
was of the training facility, of the stadium. And I can't even remember how I got connected to this person, but I remember it was this older gentleman, probably in his 80s, maybe even 90s, his son, and one other person. I can't remember who else was with them, but they reached out to somebody and somehow I got connected to them. And I was able to give them a tour of the stadium, right?
Right.
Um, and for me, it was just doing my job, right? I don't want to say it's run of the mill, but it was something that you came accustomed to doing.
Sure.
Right. You got asked from different parties across campus, but this one was special because just as I continued to take them into different spaces, from our club spaces to the locker room to our recruiting room, I just could see how passionate they were about the Vols.
Yeah.
Um, And by the time we got to the end of it, I remember going to our locker room. And so the locker room at the football stadium is only used on game days, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their training facility is where their true lockers are. So between those times, some of the legends that played at Tennessee, you're talking Peyton Manning's, Reggie White's, um,
Right.
they have fixed lockers in that locker room. And when I was able to take him into the locker room and he was able to he was able to sit in those lockers and take pictures,
Yeah.
you could kind of see tears start to
Oh.
develop in his eyes. And I'm like, this is why you do it, right? Because these
Mm,
places are special to people, whether it's student athletes, whether it's donors, whether it's fans. Like these are special places, and these places are where memories are created for people, and these are what families revolve around, right? So I think
sure.
that was a moment where I'm like, this is different, but
Mm-hmm.
it's important, right? And it makes just taking that extra moment to make sure that people feel special, ever important in this. So,
Well, sure. Every fan should have an experience where they feel a part of the process.
hmm,
And so often I think we forget and we take for granted the things that we see every day. I try to remind myself that being able to go into Lori Walton Center and see the
yeah,
the basketball team practice, or just uh sit in there when nobody else is around, that's something that I try not to take for granted, but it really is. I mean, giving a tour of all of the facilities to you, was an everyday thing, but for
yeah,
all these other people, it's something really special. And I think that we as individuals have to keep that in mind,
yeah.
and be grateful for what we get to see. Um, what what I've lost my train of thought. What advice would you give, or sell it? You've got kids people in college. I wouldn't say kids, but you've got these young people in college, right?
Hmm.
That aren't sure about what they're doing. What would you say to them to talk to them about going into college athletics, but not coaching?
Yeah, well, I think if there's a space that you want to make an impact
Mm-hmm.
with young people, right? Like higher education is it. Um,
Right.
right. So I think specifically in athletics, though, I think it's important to know it's not going to be easy, right? There's going to be
Right.
long days, late nights, uh,
Weekends.
yeah, weekends. But if you care about making an impact and changing lives, like that's what you're doing, right? Like,
Right.
I think we talk about it all the time. Some of the gifts that people give to the university, they're going to have an impact on people that aren't even born yet. Like when you think about it that
Oh,
way,
that's
like
true.
the work that you're doing is meaningful. So,
Right.
um, and I think that if that's important to you, then there's space for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now to figure out where, um, right? I think it goes back to you got to find people that maybe do something that you think you're interested in, and you just connect with them, ask them what they do, learn
Yeah.
about what they do, spend some time, volunteer, right? And that's how you figure out what you want to do. But ultimately, if you have a passion for making an impact, then like there's a space here.
What would somebody do if they're looking at eventually get so say you've got somebody who knows that they're not going to play sports after college, right?
Hmm.
And they've kind of thought, ooh, maybe I want to work in athletics. Maybe I want to eventually be as an athletic director.
Hmm.
What are three things that they can do now while they're in college to
Get
set
involved.
get
Get
involved?
involved. And I just sometimes it means you're not going to get paid, but like get involved now
Mm-hmm.
so that you can learn, right? And you
Yeah.
might realize that it's not for you, but also if you realize it is for you, you now have an upper hand because not only have you gained experience, but you've
Right.
gained connections, right? So I'd say get involved, ask questions.
Yes.
So when you're curious, ask questions because that's going to be one of the only ways you can learn, right? Sometimes.
Right.
Um, Not every time are you going to find the place that somebody's going to put you under their wing and say, "Hey, I'm going to show you everything."
Right.
So ask questions and then just do the work, right? I think some people show up and they want people to just hand them everything or show them
Yeah.
everything, and it's some of it you got to earn, right? So
Mm-hmm.
show up and do the work, and people will have your back. And I think that's where I've been very blessed, right? I've taken on that mentality, and I know that there's a handful of people that I can call if I ever need anything in this
Sure.
industry, and they're willing to pick up the phone and make a call on my behalf, right? So,
We talked about there's a lot of national attention around Colorado's football program
mhm.
and Coach Sanders. How has that impacted your work and development?
Yeah, I think it's created a lot of opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
You talk about a program that was struggling.
Right.
He's taken it and reignited it. And Colorado's a football school now, right? We have a ton of national championships in skiing, and
I
um,
didn't even know that.
yeah, no, a great skiing program, a great cross country track. Like, so we have some other great programs, but like fundamentally, people care about football here. So, him being able to reignite that, I think, has created a lot of opportunity to open doors,
Mm-hmm.
reopen some doors, right? That weren't there. It's created an opportunity for the university as a whole, to really elevate the standard,
Right.
right? To bring in not only more students, but better students, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that the ones that were here before weren't great, but right, if you have 10 really great students, now we can have 20, right? And
Right.
so I think we've been able to continue to elevate that way. Um, and I think it's just pushed people to realize the importance of being involved. So it's had that positive
Yeah.
impact as well. So,
I will say I had never watched Colorado football games. I'm
but you
not
do
even
now.
I'm not even a football fan. But yes, you're
Mhm.
absolutely right. I watched that, especially that first season.
Yeah,
I remember one Saturday night, everybody was on Twitter. I still call it that. Everybody I know, including the sports reporters in Memphis, were watching the Colorado football game,
yeah,
and I was too on a Saturday night, right?
yeah,
Because it does, it makes you pay attention more. And I think we just saw that with Tennessee State University. They hired Nolan Smith
yeah,
as their new head coach,
yeah,
and I think you know just the same thing. It's going to hopefully reinvigorate the program, put
Hmm.
a, excitement around that. And so, it's has to be called, Boulder has to be an incredible place. I would love to be there for a game. I
You
just
make it
can't.
happen.
I I just can't even imagine like that whole process. But let's talk about now NIL, and I don't want to get into a whole lot specifics because you may or may
Yeah.
not be able to talk about that. But you know, the big court case that was resolved a few weeks ago,
Yeah.
and that schools can now pay direct and stuff. How has NIL changed just this year the job that you do, or has it even impacted it?
Yeah. Well, really quick, I think give a shout out to Dr. Mickey Allen at Tennessee State. I had the opportunity to work with him at the University of Tennessee. Phenomenal person, and
Right.
I think he continues to make that place better. So, and also crossed paths with Nolan while I was at the University of Louisville. So, small world again.
It
That,
is. It is a small world.
but I think yeah, that's exciting for them. But yeah, how NIL has changed. I think the settlement with the House versus NCAA case being approved,
Right.
I think gave some really good positive guidance moving forward. Um, and I think it helped lay the groundwork, and it'll probably change again, right? But for what we're going to do moving forward, I
Sure.
think the injection of NIL into college athletics, the way it happened, I don't want to say it created a little bit of panic, but it created a little bit of,
Chaos.
right word is chaos. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Chaos.
Because the need to keep up was just right. It was this
Extraordinary.
it was this crazy chase to say, hey, like we need money because we need to be able to keep
Right.
or go get athletes that can help us compete at a high level, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think with the house settlement now, you put a $20.5 million cap on revenue share.
Right.
You put some guidance around what outside NIL deals look like, so it can't just be Joe Donor coming in and saying, "Hey, I got a car dealership and I want to pay Duvante
Right.
Lane $1 million
Right. Right.
to take one picture," right? So there's some guidance around what outside NIL deals will look like, which I think helps streamline
I
and
do.
balance the playing field. And then, yeah, the revenue share piece, right? That helps balance it. But the hard part is schools weren't just sitting on $20.5 million to now distribute to student athletes, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now it's how do we make up for that gap, right? Whether it's through going and finding more dollars from donors, whether it's through adding sponsorships in places that we haven't, whether it's
Right.
whatever it is, right? So I think that's the maybe strain that it's put on development offices, that the pressure or the need has been higher than it's ever been.
Right. No, I agree. And, I like to call it, the wild, wild west, NIL, when it first happened. Like
Yeah, it was.
it's the wild, wild west. Absolutely. And just, the amount of dollars that a few schools were spending just to
Hmm.
get players, was
Hmm.
just crazy. Um, so how do you help donors understand where traditional giving ends and NIL begins?
Yeah, I think it's just through constant education, right? I think
Mm,
there's still people, right? We're 5 years into NIL, and there's still
yes.
people that don't
Yes.
understand what it is, how you contribute. Some people probably give money to it and don't realize that they're doing it,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's just through constant education, right? Not only of what our needs are as a university, but also what's happening in the industry, right? What are the changes,
Sure.
right? Talking about the House settlement. What does that mean moving forward for college athletics, but also specifically the University of Colorado? So I think it's a lot of that. And then on the back end, understanding the impact that they want to make.
Right.
Like, what do you want your impact to be? For some people, it's only going to be traditional giving. For other people, though, it's, oh, I never felt comfortable giving the University of Colorado personal money, but I have a business now, and I would love to have
Yeah.
student athletes represent it, right?
Yep.
So I think that piece, the just education piece, is the most important. And I think it's also talking about what are our needs, right? Like
Mm,
what are these buckets that we need to fill in order to achieve what we plan to achieve?
right.
And that's part of the education process, right? So,
So, just to kind of wrap up the development thing, we
yeah.
started off with, development. A huge part of that is fundraising.
Hmm.
But if you could say what else is development made up of, how would you say that? Besides the fundraising, like what else is development made out of?
I think it's just building genuine connections and relationships tied back to the university that you're at or organization that you're at, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is the foundational piece of development. It's people.
Okay.
Um, and how are you creating relationships with people um, and helping drive their passion for the place you're at, right? Um, because there's the giving piece, but there's also the engagement piece, right? You want
Sure, it
people
is.
talking positively about your organization and their
Absolutely.
experiences, right? And so it's because you want, even if somebody's not giving you money, you want them to still talk positively about you because their friend might be the person that can, right? So
Exactly.
I think yeah, at the root of it, it's people. And again, I'll go back to it. It's about people, opportunity, and impact, right? And I think that is with and that touches any and everybody that's associated with the organization, right? Fan, donor,
Sure.
student athlete, administrator, staff member, faculty, right? Um, yeah, you touch everything.
Well, I will definitely be watching the football games when it kicks off. I may not see everyone,
Yeah,
but I have a connection now, even more.
yeah.
So I'll be doing that. So I want to get into a little bit of reflection. If you could go back and talk to your 9-year-old self, what would you tell him?
9-year-old Devontae, what was he doing? Um, I think just have fun.
Mm,
Right? Just have fun. Um, enjoy the process, enjoy life, right? I think um there's been times where I think you get so caught up as you're navigating
yeah, I
through
agree.
college, through career, right? Like you're so caught up in all these things that don't matter. And if you're just enjoying it, the things that need to happen will happen. The people you need to meet, you'll meet. Um, so I think that would be the probably the biggest piece of advice I could give my and I've had a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. Like I've enjoyed what I do tremendously, but I've had those times where like my mind is right. I'm in my head, and I'm like,
Right.
Why this? Why that? Why?" And it's like, just go out and enjoy it, and the things that need to happen will happen.
How has your definition of success evolved from those first few months in college to now in Boulder? Like how has that definition of success changed for you?
Yeah, I think it's less about trying to impress or fulfill what others think
Right.
um, I need to accomplish, and more about enjoying what I'm doing, right?
Mm, yeah.
I think that's been a big turn right earlier in my career, early on in my career, I talked about, right? It was just about how can I go get a job? How can I get
Right.
paid? How can I do this? How can I go get this title?
That's right.
And now it's like, how can I surround myself with the right people? How can put myself in a position to grow? How can I put myself at a place where I can make an impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there are some hard metrics, right? That like, hey, like we need you to be responsible for doing X to help our
Right.
organization be
Right.
successful. But ultimately, again, I think if I'm doing all those other things, then that stuff won't matter because it'll take care of itself. So,
Sure. I agree with that. So how can people find you on social media? And I'll put everything in the show notes, but how can everybody find you on social media?
yes, easy, easy. It is Dove Lane,
Okay.
Duvlane.
Okay.
That's on Twitter, it's on Instagram, just Devonte Lane on Facebook,
Okay.
LinkedIn, all those other things. So,
Okay. Excellent. Okay, some quick flash fire Q&A. What
okay.
sport would you never try, not even once?
At this point in life, I think I'd probably go with hockey. I think
Hmm.
I don't know. It's put me on the floor, but once you get skates involved, I think I'm a liability. Yeah,
And I will say the older we get, the
yeah,
more liability.
yeah, exactly.
I saw this funny TikTok video the other day of somebody getting up on a chair to get something from the top of the refrigerator, and they
Uh-huh.
did it as like a 20-year-old, and they just jump right down. But as like a 40 and 50-year-old, like you have to get down really,
Oh
really
yeah, you got to
easy.
make sure
Slowly.
you got a good
That's right.
stability, there's something
That's right.
stable you grab. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, number two, first concert you ever went to.
First memorable one, Drake Take Care Tour, Bridgestone Arena in Nashville.
Okay, okay.
Phenomenal
Favorite
show.
favorite music you're listening to now.
I'm kind of tapping back into some of the music that I listen to in college right now. So what do we have in there? We have like some early Drake stuff,
Yeah,
some older Kanye, some Frank Ocean, some early Kendrick Lamar, in my opinion, some of their all those artists, some of their
right.
best music. Yeah, kind of I don't know why I've been on that kick lately, but that's been in my playlist a little bit more.
Um, one of my favorite has always been Erica Badu's first album.
Oh.
I just fell in love with that album. But the other one is I've been listening to a little bit of Tupac, which I'm
Mm.
sure freaking everybody out right
Yeah,
now.
you can't go wrong there.
No, because I never, when he was alive, I didn't really listen to his music. Okay, dream vacation destination right now, no budget, no limit. What would it be?
I don't know why I've been on this really big kick. I would love to go to Tokyo.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
why? Can you just say one reason why?
I don't know. I think it looks like such a vibrant
Oh
place.
yeah,
I
colors and
think
everything. Like
the
yes.
culture, right, is something
Hmm.
that really intrigues me. Um, yeah, I don't know. There's just been a kick lately. I'm like, this, I would love to go here. I don't know if I can afford it, but
I know, right? Athlete you would most want to have dinner with.
that's a tough one. That's really tough. There's a lot of good ones. Um, I
Okay,
think my
maybe the top three.
Yeah. No, so my favorite athlete probably of all time is Dwayne Wade. Um,
Interesting.
I don't know why, but I think the person right now I'd probably want to have dinner with is Chad Ochocinco. I think he's just he has this I don't know, he's such a multifaceted person. I
Yeah,
think it would be really fun and interesting to be able to sit down and actually spend genuine time with him. I think he has a persona on social media that people maybe take, but I think like I've followed his career and I've followed his
yeah.
professional career, and I think like there's deep down like some really deep genuineness to him and I think that would be fun. So
I know it's it's always fascinating, and we talked about this. What you see on social media is not necessarily what they're really like all day to
right.
day. And it is fascinating to see all these different people. Okay, there you have it. That wraps up today's show. Devontae, thank you so much for being my guest today. I'm so excited.
No, all thanks to you. Super appreciative of what you're doing with the podcast. I think yeah, just phenomenal to give different people an opportunity to share their voice. There's a lot
Yeah,
of unheard voices in this industry, a lot of great people in this industry, whether they were former student athletes or
right.
current administrators, right? So I think what you're doing is great. So thank you, and super honored to spend some time with you.
I'm so excited. I'm not going to gush anymore, but yes, super excited. We'll always have New Year's Eve, right? Always have New Year's Eve
Absolutely.
in New Orleans. Okay, thank you all for watching and listening, especially if you've made it all the way to this part of the show. I appreciate all your support. Another reminder to subscribe to the show wherever you listen or watch. You can find us at 5THQRT podcast.com, and that's also our social media handle. My mantra is like, share, and review. Until next time, change is our ally and it paves the way for greatness. Stay inspired. Have a great rest of the week.